Congratulations, you've reserved your dream property on the Costa Blanca South. And maybe at the moment it looks like this behind me. But what important documents do you now need? And what should you absolutely know before signing a purchase contract? Today I'm back in Casa and we're answering all these questions and more with my lawyer in Spain. So what questions do you want answered in this three-part series to help you buy a property in Spain with confidence? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to watch to the end as we have 1 or 2 offers for you at the end of the video. I'm Daniel Mark, and yes, you're watching Casa Pro Properties.
Ready to find your new home in the Costa Blanca, Spain? Then book your viewing trip today. Your next step to buying a home in the sun. Book now at casaproproperties.com.
Today, I'm sat down with Laura, who works as a lawyer for my lawyer in Spain. Thank you so much for your time today and for answering all of these important questions. We really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for letting me participate.
Now, you might remember in part 1, we answered all questions relating to that reservation contract. If you missed that, just click on the description below and you'll find a link to part 1. Let's meet my lawyer in Spain. So now that I've signed my reservation contract and I've reserved my property, how is my lawyer in Spain going to help me with the next steps?
As we discussed in video 1, hiring your lawyer before you start your property search ensure that all the legal matters are going to be handled correctly from the very beginning. The next step would be to put in place a power of attorney, which will allow your lawyer to act on your behalf throughout the whole process. Ideally, this could be signed while you're still in Spain, but if that's not possible, it could also be signed in your home country.
Why is it helpful to have a power of attorney?
Well, the power of attorney allows your lawyer to act for you even if you're not physically in Spain. So it can save time, it can simplify the process, and in essence, it reduces your hassle.
What can you do with a power of attorney?
I understand it might feel a bit risky to grant power of attorney to someone, but this is strictly limited to the purchase process. So your lawyer is going to act under your instructions and it's not going to do anything unless you approve. With this power of attorney in place, we can do the essential steps for the property purchase, like getting your NIE number or opening a bank account. But it also allows us to sign any related documents, including the signing of the deeds. So you don't even need to be present on the day of the signing.
What is an NIE number?
The NIE number is an identification number for tax purposes that's allocated to foreigners. So it's basically needed for any transaction in Spain.
Why do I need an NIE number?
In essence, the NIE number is needed for settling and paying taxes, but it's also needed for buying and selling property, opening a bank account, arranging the utilities. If you plan to relocate, work in Spain, it will be needed as well. And also if you plan to set up a company in Spain.
Now you remember in video 1, we signed that reservation contract. So now, when am I going to receive my purchase contract?
Once you have signed the reservation agreement, the purchase contract is not going to be prepared immediately. It could normally take a week or 2 for the developer to prepare this. And during this time, the developer is also going to gather the documents related to the property, such as the bank guarantees and the building license. Without these documents, the contract should not be signed.
And who's going to send me my purchase contract?
Purchase contract can be sent to you directly from the developer or also your estate agent.
Should my lawyer in Spain be included in this communication?
Yes, definitely your lawyer should be included. That's why it's important to appoint your lawyer in advance. But if for any reason your lawyer hasn't received this document, it's important that you forward it to them so that they can review it.
How do I know that my favorite property that I really want to buy is legally safe to buy in Spain?
My lawyer in Spain will do a comprehensive check and will make sure that the plot is registered in the builder's name, that they have obtained the corresponding building license from the town hall, and also that the land is residential. As part of our checks, we carry out a thorough due diligence on the developer, reviewing information from the commercial registry and other relevant sources to make sure that they have a solid reputation.
When reading my purchase contract, what important details should I look out for?
When reviewing your purchase contract, it's important to pay attention to several key points. First, you should check basic details, such as your personal details, the address of the property, the description of the property. At this stage, the address might not be definitive or might not be clear enough. So instead, it's important to find out which is the correct number within the complex, as well as those of any annexes, such as parking spaces or storage units. You should also review the agreed price and the payment terms, as well as any penalties for non-payment or if the buyer decides to pull out. If the property is part of a community, it's important to understand the initial costs, that is, your contribution towards the setup and maintenance of the community. Another point to clarify is who will be responsible for paying the council tax for the year in which the purchase is going to take place. In addition, make sure that the developer is going to provide bank guarantees to protect your payments. You should also check the delivery date and if there are any penalties for the developer in case the project cannot be completed on time. Finally, review the plans and the building specification in detail because these are what the developer will be obliged to deliver. However, this could be subject to changes due to technical, legal, or administrative requirements.
So I've read through my purchase contract, but I've seen some details inside that I'm a little bit worried about. How can I discuss these with my lawyer in Spain?
If you come across any mistakes or any clauses that you are not comfortable with, you can always call my lawyer in Spain at any of our usual channels, that is WhatsApp, email or telephone, and discuss this with your designated lawyer. If the issue is about incorrect information, such as your personal details or the property number, for example, this can be easily amended by the developer. If there is a clause that you would like to get amended or removed, then we could raise this with the developer and, where possible, negotiate a modification.
What is the quickest way, but what is also the best way of getting in contact with my lawyer in Spain?
I'd say if you are in a rush to get your contract reviewed, if you have any questions about it, it's best to call us. At that point, we can either arrange a video call or a meeting at the office and discuss this without any delay.
How long would that appointment be?
The appointment would be as long as you need it.
How long would it take to make those changes?
Changes are normally made within a few days, so there is always plenty of time to review the contract with your lawyer.
Now remember, I've signed my reservation contract, but I'm just reading through my purchase contract. But let's say my circumstances have changed now and I can't afford to go through with the entire purchase now. Can I change my mind?
You can, of course, change your mind if you haven't signed a purchase contract yet.
How much money would I get back?
But this will mean that you will lose the deposit that you paid in full or partially. However, depending on your personal circumstances and if the developer is flexible and understanding enough, they might return in full, or they could also hold it for the future to book another property. This is why it is essential to have your finances in place before you commit to a purchase or even before you start your property search, because this is one of the most common mistakes buyers make.
Okay, so this is a scarier question. What happens if the builder runs away or goes bust?
I understand this is a concern for buyers who are going to purchase a property that's not going to be built for the next year or two. This is why the developers have to provide a bank guarantee or a surety bond. These are different instruments. The bank guarantee is provided by a bank, whereas the surety bond is provided by an insurance company. In both cases, the payments are deposited into the developer's escrow account, where they are going to be protected in case something goes wrong. If it's not possible to obtain those bank guarantees or surety bonds for any reason, then we would recommend that the payments are deposited into the notary's bank account until the completion takes place.
Would I need to attend a court in Spain?
Not necessarily. In principle, the buyers can request a refund directly from the bank or from the insurer. and only if they fail to pay, then legal action may be required. However, if you have already appointed your lawyer and you have signed a power of attorney, my lawyer in Spain can assist you with that and we can attend the courts on your behalf.
So now I've read through my purchase contract, I'm happy with everything inside, and I've signed it. I'm committed to starting that journey and buying my new property in Spain. But what happens next?
Once you have signed a purchase contract, the next step is to follow the payment schedule. This typically involves stage payments during the constructions amounting to 20 to 40% of the purchase price. At this stage, you may also start making decisions about taking on extras or upgrades, for example, additional electric points or upgraded taps or showers, the kitchen design or any terraces. It is very important that all these extras and modifications are clearly set out in writing, ideally in an annex to a contract. It's key to understand whether those extras and modifications are going to be part of the purchase price or paid separately, as this will have a direct impact on the overall tax liability.
Thank you so much, Laura, for your time today and for helping us to clearly understand the purchase contract process. Did we answer all of your questions? Let us know in the comments below. And if you're one of our clients and you'd like to choose my lawyer in Spain to represent you as your lawyer, then you'll receive 10% off the My Lawyer fee. And if you'd like to come on a viewing trip with Casa Properties to find your dream villa or your dream beach apartment, then we'd be really happy to help you. If you subscribe to our channel, and as a gift from us to you, you'll receive huge discounts on many of our new build properties. Don't forget to watch part 3, which will be appearing here to help you with the final steps in the buying process. Well done for watching the video right to the end, and I'll see you in the next video.